Are you looking for comprehensive solutions for your performance and automotive needs? Straight Line Performance and Automotive is a full-service auto repair shop specializing in race car fabrication, electrical design, chassis setup and alignment. Located in Hamden, Connecticut, they also specialize in aftermarket high performance and chassis upgrades. Be sure to look them up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/straightline, STR8LINE, performance, ampersand automotive, or give them a call at 203-415-5316. Welcome, racers and fans, to the Racers News Network Live, presented by Straight Line Performance and Automotive, and your hosts, Chris and Pete, bring you the latest news and interviews in the world of sportsman drag racing, including bracket racing, association races, outlaw, and no-time events. We are live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take it away, boys. I guess I didn't know.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. In a very short amount of time, we're going to be talking to Jim from Optima Batteries. But first, needless to say, it was kind of a crazy weekend up here in Division One for NHRA. The Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series was at Cecil County this past weekend. And unfortunately, there was a pretty bad crash in Supergas. It involved Will Monroe and Dave Mueller. At the top end, there was a crash. Something at this time unknown happened to Dave's car, which was in the right-hand lane, and Will was in the left-hand lane. It appears when whatever happened to Dave's car happened, he hooked a hard left and smashed into the right-hand side of Will Monroe's flat black Supergas Roadster. Most people up here are familiar with the car. Really nice looking car. Will had to be extricated from his race car, and it was determined that he needed to be med flighted out of the facility. Will was taken via helicopter to University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center. He was evaluated. At this time, again, this was information from yesterday. We do have updates that we're going to get to. He was initially placed in a medically induced coma to help keep the swelling in his brain to a minimum. Unfortunately, yesterday, they did have to amputate some fingers from his right hand, and they placed his left hand in a temporary cast. He has multiple fractures in both hands. He will be undergoing surgery tomorrow sometime, I don't know when, to have surgery on one or both hands. His cervical spine was cleared, and they are awaiting results of the CT scan. According to updates from this afternoon, the swelling has not gotten worse, so that is an excellent sign. So they're basically waiting for the surgery tomorrow, and then they will reevaluate his care as far as the swelling on his brain and how everything goes. Dave Mueller was reported to be out of his car and moving around under his own power. I had the chance to speak with Will's mom and passed along that everyone is thinking of him and sending good thoughts and vibes to all of them, the family, obviously Will, the other driver involved, Dave Mueller, and the entire TSR team. She will be keeping us updated, and as soon as we hear more about his condition, it will be posted on our Facebook page. Now, if you will bear with me for 2 seconds, I actually have the update right here. This is from about 2 hours ago. All right. We had a pretty easy day today since tomorrow will be surgery on both hands. The neurologist came in today and said that the pressure on his brain looks good and the swelling has not increased, which is an excellent sign. Good news in my book. Again, this is his mom, Jessica Monroe. The nurse also decided it was time to piss Will off and have some confirmed movement of his arms, legs, and his head. So again, another good sign. They say thank you for all the prayers, and everything that everybody is doing seems to be working well. So moving on just a tiny little bit, I received a message early this morning from the Division One NHRA Safety Safari, and they asked me to not only post this but to read this as well. Please pass along our thoughts and prayers from every one of us on the NHRA Division One safety team. While we are not able to express our thoughts publicly on the World Wide Web right now, each one of us is praying for a speedy recovery and that Will is able to overcome these life-changing injuries. Our response was quick, swift, and professional. We hope to see Will back out there with all his friends and family very soon. So that is pretty much where we're at right now. Tomorrow, again, more surgery. He did have some fingers amputated, unfortunately, on his right hand. His fiance has made it to Maryland to shock trauma to be with him. So as we have more, we will let you know. There is a GoFundMe page. The link can be found on our Facebook page. Also, Fast Freddy Motorsports is going to have a collection bucket at his trailer at the Divisional in Maple Grove this coming weekend. So 100% of what Fast Freddy and Carla collect will go to Will and his family. So I've seen the video of the crash. I will not post the video of the crash. If you want to go find it, you're free to do so. It was not pretty. He rolled about 7 times. So that's that.
Just a reminder of no matter how fast or slow your car is, it could happen. It could happen to anyone at any given time, right? Parts break, conditions change. Just knowing that we have the safety safari that we have here in Division One, I personally know a couple of them that come out to get you whenever there's an issue, and it's people like that save lives. And make no mistake about it, nothing against small backyard tracks or outlaw tracks or anything like that, but if I was a betting person, I would bet that if that accident happened at one of those tracks, the outcome would not be the same. The chances of both of these gentlemen making a full recovery are pretty damn good, and between the safety equipment and their actions, I believe that's got everything to do with it.
Absolutely. We do ask that keep your comments on the page nice. You know, this is not a time to go voicing opinions. This is a time to, you know, be out there to support the Monroe family and TSR. So be friendly. Please.
Yeah, there's only one thing that people should be talking or wishing, and that's for the full and speediest recovery for Will and, you know, anyone else involved. And we don't care what caused it, how it happened. None of that is important. The only thing that's important is that everyone involved heals up and gets back in a race car at some point soon and goes on to living their life the way they were before this happened. That's really all
absolutely
that matters.
Yep. So like I said, please, no jerky comments. We will delete it, and
absolutely,
we will.
You will also be deleted from the page too.
Yeah. So we will have updates as much as his mom makes them available. She knows that we are talking about this tonight. I made it clear to her this morning and asked her permission, and she was fine with that. So she's also going to do her best to keep us updated as much as they can. Obviously, he's got a long road to recovery, but Division One is going to be there to support him.
So, absolutely.
Now to move on.
Jim, we hate like hell to have you follow this, but don't worry, we'll turn the mood around. Have no fear.
It was a tough weekend all around up here in the Northeast. There was accidents and people's trailers burning and their race cars burning to the ground. And I'm sitting there going, I got to email him and tell him we're going to need like 10 or 15 minutes extra tonight. So,
Yeah.
so for those that don't know this fine gentleman, this is Jim. He's from Optima Batteries. He's joining us tonight to talk about some battery technology, the latest and greatest stuff with Optima Batteries, you know, the safety aspect of it. And for this part of it, I'm pretty much going to turn it over to Pete.
Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me on.
I am especially excited for this for two reasons. One of the reasons is I'm just finishing up teaching sophomores in high school electrical, which is a very daunting task. It's hard to teach something that you can't see.
Warms my sophomores in high school are still interested in learning about it, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it helps when you're in a tech school. You have a captive audience, so it helps. And the other reason, and you'll have to tell me how much light you could shed on this. We've seen a lot of trailer fires. Okay, and it seems to me like a lot of them are the lithium ion battery situation, which, if I'm correct, you guys do not make those. Am I right in saying that?
Correct. We're not our parent corporation manufactures lithium-based products for the OEs, but we're not. The Optima brand doesn't do anything with lithium at this point.
Gotcha. So let's start from the beginning. Optima batteries. Why would I put one in my race car? And what is the best way to maintain it so I get the most use out of it?
Well, I would say, especially for a drag racer who might go wheels up, if you haven't relocated your battery to the trunk, which I know most of them do, our batteries are up to 15 times more resistant to vibration damage than a typical flooded lead acid battery. And if your car is going to go wheels up, and even if it's in the trunk, that bouncing around, you don't want a flooded battery that could leak electrolyte, which is basically acid, anywhere, whether it's under the hood or in the trunk. It's obviously pretty damaging stuff, and it's a mess that nobody in racing needs to encounter. And unfortunately, you guys were talking about that accident where the car rolled 7 times. You can imagine what would happen if you had a battery that would leak acid, and you roll it 7 times. Then it'll go everywhere. So from a safety standpoint, there's certainly an advantage to using an AGM battery. And I want to help clarify something that I see a lot. Folks confuse AGM and gel batteries. They're not the same thing. AGM batteries is what you're going to see in an automotive application. Gel is something you might see in a standalone power application, but not really in an automotive application. So it really only comes into play when people are using chargers that have confusing settings on them. They might say gel/AGM or gel or AGM. And if you have to choose, we would recommend choosing an AGM specific setting. That would be perfect for our batteries or any other AGM battery. If you can avoid the gel setting, because that can be a very narrow charging parameter that may not fully charge a non-gel battery and could damage it over time. And honestly, the next gel battery I see in a car will be the first one. So I know the G in AGM confuses some folks and makes them believe that gel and AGM are the same thing. They're just not. So there's that. I would also say, in terms of cycle life, the most common thing I see in drag racing are people who are running underdrive pulleys, or they're running no charging system at all, and they have to charge a battery in between rounds, and they're using red tops. And I know red tops will save you just a little bit of weight over a comparably sized yellow top, but the yellow tops are really designed for both starting and deep cycle use. And if you run an underdrive pulley, or you don't have any charging system at all and you have to charge in between rounds, a yellow top really is the best choice of battery to use in that application. And then I also see a lot of batteries mounted in trunks, many of them in sealed battery boxes that are vented to the outside atmosphere. And that's the preferred way to do it. Any battery, it doesn't matter if it's an Optima or any other brand, it's a box of energy. And if there's some situation where it gets severely overcharged, it could vent. And the fumes that it vents are flammable, they're toxic, and you don't want them inside your vehicle, whether it's in the trunk or in the passenger compartment if you mount it where the passenger seat used to be. So we always recommend using a sealed battery box and venting it to the outside atmosphere if the battery doesn't have venting provisions itself. And some batteries do, and you can just hook a tube up to the battery and vent it to the outside atmosphere. But for the batteries that don't have that, and if you look at your Optima battery, it has little black discs on top of it. That's where the battery vents if it gets overcharged. It doesn't go into a tube that goes outside the vehicle. So you want to make sure that's in a sealed battery box to the outside atmosphere.
Excellent. So I've always been told that a conventional flooded cell battery, if you killed it completely, even if it was a brand new battery, that it will never come back to 100%. Am I correct in saying that?
So there's a law called Purkett's Law that if anybody wants to get into the weeds on it, they can go and read up on it on Wikipedia. But the cliff notes on it are batteries are consumable items. And as soon as they get built, they have finite lifespans and they're moving closer to their demise with each passing day. Purkett's Law says the more deeply you discharge a battery, the fewer a lead acid battery, the fewer cycles you will get out of it. So even if you don't deeply discharge a flooded lead acid battery, every time you discharge it, it's always moving closer to death. So and will you know the difference between a 100% state of charge and a 98% state of charge on a flooded battery? Probably not. Same with ours. You probably won't notice that minimal difference, and it might take 10, 15, 20 cycles for you to start losing, 1% state of charge, 2%, whatever. But the best thing you can do is to keep your battery fully charged whenever possible. And the thing that I see so often with a lot of these fires are people, they don't, obviously they're drag cars. They put them on trailers, take them to the track, run them, put them back on the trailer and take them home. They may, and I see this on the marine side as well, because there's a lot of tournament anglers who use products. You need to consult the manufacturer of the battery, or at least the brand that bought the battery from a manufacturer, and find out what kind of charger they recommend for that battery and use it to their specifications. Because what can happen with some of these lithium-based products is folks go to take their car to the track, they haven't been running it in a while, battery's dead. They jump start it, or they put it on a charger or something like that, and it overcharges the battery. And some lithium batteries can go into thermal runaway, and unless you have a special fire extinguisher, when they start burning, they just keep burning until they're done burning. You can look at that transport ship that sunk in the Atlantic Ocean with all the new vehicles on it that had a bunch of lithium batteries that caught on fire. So you have to be very careful with how you maintain those, and consult the manufacturers or the brands directly, and be cautious. And I can't emphasize this enough with folks. When you're choosing a battery, go to their website and look up their contact information. And if it's a street address, do a simple Google search and see where you're buying that battery from. If you're buying it out of somebody's house or a UPS store or a PO box somewhere, find somebody else. There's more reputable manufacturers that are either manufacturing lithium products or are very involved in the manufacturing process and the batteries that they purchase, and they do it that's their full-time gig. It's not a side hustle. They're not selling AMSOIL out of their basement and car batteries and everything else. Find somebody, because if you need a warranty, if you need warranty assistance, you want to have maybe not necessarily a brick and mortar that you can go to because you're out of state, but you want to have a full-time business that you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody or get the help that you need. And I see so many people, you don't even realize how easy it is to buy 24 batteries off of Alibaba, put a label on them and start selling them in this country. And people want the lightweight, they want the newest, latest, greatest thing, but they don't want to pay for the quality. And they end up with a substandard product. And And I've seen a lot of battery fires, and I've seen battery fires in very expensive race cars with very big budgets, and it's not a fun experience. It's a very costly one.
Yeah, because a lot of times when these fires occur, it's not in a wide open area. It's usually inside a trailer or inside the garage at your house, and it affects a lot more than just the race car itself.
And it would be a good idea to consult the lithium brand that you're using and ask them, if the battery were to catch on fire for some reason, how do I put it out? Is there a fire extinguisher or some kind of device that I should have handy? As everybody, a lot of folks have integrated fire systems in their vehicles. Will that put out a lithium fire? And if it doesn't, what do I need to do to extinguish that lithium fire?
So, Jim, if weight wasn't an option, if money wasn't an option, you guys make 3 types of batteries, right? Red, yellow, and blue.
Correct.
Okay. I have a car. I'm not worried about weight or any of that. What battery am I putting in my car?
It depends on what the car is and what you're using it for. I wish there was a simple, straightforward answer. I just got off the phone with one of the BF Goodrich guys, and he's got a 63 Corvette split window car. It's a beautiful car. And obviously when you have a valuable car like that, you're not going to modify it. Well, some people do, but he didn't. He left it stock.
Right.
It's a 50, 60-year-old car. It's not complicated. It's not demanding from an electrical perspective.
Mhm.
A red top's great for that. It'll start the engine every time, all day long. So that's pretty straightforward. I've got a 92 Chevy Silverado. It's the same thing. It's a simple truck from an electrical standpoint. Even though when it sits for long periods of time, I leave it on a battery maintainer, but a red top works just fine for that. A yellow top battery will work fine for starting and deep cycle applications. So as I mentioned before, if you're a drag racer and you have no charging system or underdrive pulleys that don't keep your battery properly maintained, and you have to supplement that with a battery charger, you're going to want to use a yellow top because that battery is designed to be cycled more deeply, more often. Even though you give up a little bit of cranking amps, we carry around our little Group 51 Honda batteries at the SEMA show. And we use those to jumpstart all the LS swap vehicles that, like the Jeeps with the LS swaps. They took the doors off and forgot to deal with the door switches. So it leaves the lights on the battery while it's in the trailer getting driven to SEMA, and then they can't get it off the trailer. So the yellow tops have plenty of cranking power. Problem Child Top Fuel hydro boat used a bunch of our Group 51s and that to start that engine. So they've got the cranking power you need, but they're also designed to be cycled deeply. Now the blue tops have additional threaded terminals for marine applications or RV applications. But the color of the case really tells the tale of the tape. If it's a light gray Optima case, it's designed for starting and deep cycle use. And if it's a dark gray or black case, like all our red tops, then it's just a starting battery. So our Group 34M blue top has a dark gray case, and that's the marine version of our Group 34 red top starting battery. Every top has a light gray case. The third D34M, D27M, D31M, those are starting and deep cycle batteries.
Excellent. I didn't know. I thought you guys only went by the color of the tops. I had no idea that the color of the case made a difference too. So that's some pretty good info.
Well, all the yellow tops have the light gray cases, and all the red have the dark gray or black cases. So they kind of, it's the blue tops where it gets a little confusing, but most folks in drag racing space don't need to concern themselves with that. Unless they like the threaded terminals, then they might pick up the blue tops just for the threaded terminals.
Yeah. So now another myth that I would like to either confirm or deny would be it's not good to run an alternator with a deep cycle battery. And I can already tell by our conversation, you will disagree with that. But again, that's just the myths that have been going around.
Sure. As it relates to our batteries, by all means, you can use an alternator on our batteries that are designed for deep cycle use, because they're kind of a dual purpose battery. They're a starting and deep cycle battery. So that won't hurt them at all. In fact, our newer batteries, our H6 and our H7, don't even have that typical 6-pack shape that everybody associates with the Optima batteries. Those are DIN, which is a German standard for battery sizes, and many of the US automakers have adopted that size. So we weren't able to pack the amount of energy into that space, that footprint that we needed with our spiral cells. So we had to go to flat plate on those batteries, but we still used thick cast straps to connect the cells, where most batteries use tombstone welds, and we still use 99.99% pure virgin lead in all our batteries. So it's the same quality of the products. It's just a different shape to fit the footprint and meet the demands of new vehicles.
Excellent. Good stuff. So, depending on what your actual application is, I'll use my car for an example, because as far as electronics go, it's pretty much the same as all the .90 guys. Trans brake, electric water pump, coolant fan, data logger, delay box. Yellow top would be the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, underdriven or no charging system at all. But for sure, with all those, in between rounds, if you have fans running, and you have a battery charger on your car, you'd want to use a yellow top.
Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. And obviously we already know what the pros are, but is there anything bad about running dual Optima batteries for the people that have the room and need the weight?
I see people do that all the time. The best advice I can offer, and it doesn't matter if they use an Optima or any other brand, is that whenever you run more than one battery in a parallel or a series application, they should be identical in 3 different ways. They should be the same age, they should be the same type of battery, and they should be the same size of battery. And sometimes I go over to examples with water, because that helps people understand it a little bit. If you have a hot tub and a swimming pool connected to each other, and you want to fill them up, and you have one hose, and you put it in the hot tub, and the hot tub will eventually overflow into the pool and fill it up. But that's what happens when you have batteries that are different sizes, and you have current coming into one. It's going to fill up the small one first, then the small one's going to get overcharged while the big one hasn't been fully charged yet. And so as batteries age, they act like smaller batteries because they have higher internal resistance, and they don't accept current as quickly, they don't deliver it as quickly. So if you use dissimilar batteries, that new battery will get overcharged because it'll accept charge quicker before the older battery will get fully charged, even if they're the same size battery. So that's the size difference, the age difference, and then the type of battery. Flooded lead acid batteries tend to have more internal resistance, so it takes longer for them to accept the charge. They may not be able to deliver current as quickly. So if you connected an AGM and a flooded battery together, you're probably going to overcharge the AGM battery while you're still trying to fully charge the flooded battery. So that's why it's so important to make sure the batteries are identical in age, size, and type. And with Optima batteries, we have a non-spillable label on the side of the battery. And the first digit is the year of production, and the next 3 digits are the Julian date of production. So I don't what May, and I would say the batteries we were making today, I don't know the exact Julian day of the year, but it's 2022. So the first digit will be a 2, and the next 3 digits will be like 150. So when you go to a retailer, you can look at the non-spillable label, and if you see one label starts with a 0 and the other one starts with a 2, those batteries, those are 2 years difference in age roughly. So you can, and other battery manufacturers probably do similar things where you can check the age. So if you're going to run dual batteries, make sure they're the same age, size, and type. And if you have to replace one, you really have to replace both. Even if the other one's not bad, just use it in something else, but make sure you run the same batteries.
Put it in your golf cart or something.
Yeah, you can use it to start your tow vehicle, whatever.
Yep. We have a comment. Gentleman has an Optima red top in his car and runs an alternator. No issues with that, as long as you don't cycle too deep.
No, the only instance would be if he runs underdrive pulleys.
Right.
That won't keep the battery fully charged. Then he'd be better off with the yellow top.
He's saying that he runs a big alternator in his car. I'm assuming that means it puts out a lot and it can keep up with the demand.
Yeah, we recommend the typical alternator output to be approximately 13.7 to 14.7. Fully charged, our red tops will measure about 12.6 to 12.8 volts. and our yellow tops will measure about 13 to 13.2 volts, so a little bit higher voltage in the yellow tops.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but if you have an alternator, it's only putting out 12.9. It's not going to properly maintain the battery. So 13.7 to 14.7 is the appropriate range.
Dynamite. Great info. Chris, you got anything for Jim?
From a manufacturer's standpoint, even though you directly don't deal with the lithium stuff, like you had mentioned earlier, your sister company does. Do you guys ever look at the electric cars being used in motorsports and kind of cringe from a safety standpoint?
Not from the OE side of things. We have a series called Optimus Search the Ultimate Street Car, and we run all over the country. We just ran last weekend at Road America. We didn't have any electric vehicles there, but the previous event we were out at Sonoma, and we had a couple of Teslas running out there. What phenomenal performance machines those things are. Nothing could stay with them on the autocross or the speed stop. And from the OE standpoint, I think they've done a pretty good job of making sure those things are as safe as they probably can be. Tracks obviously have some concerns about if they have a lithium fire, do they have the capability to handle that fire and deal with it appropriately? But from a crash standpoint and driver safety, I'm not too concerned about it. The concern would come into play if somebody has a home built car or a home built EV that they've like swapped a drivetrain from an EV and put it into some other vehicle that wasn't designed for it. The batteries and the motors can behave very differently than an internal combustion engine setup. So we've never allowed those in our series, and for safety reasons. And so that would be the concern I would have. But on the OE side, we've never had an issue with them, and they seem to be extraordinarily safe.
I had the opportunity. I live in New Hampshire, so I'm not very far from Mount Washington, where they have the Mount Washington Hill Climb. There was I can't remember the name of the company, but they took an old Spec Racer Ford and converted it to all electric, and it set the record in its class. And it's really cool to see, because even though obviously Mount Washington here isn't anywhere near as high as Pikes Peak, where normally aspirated or even turbocharged engines have to worry about oxygen deprivation, as high as they go. The electric cars are just there go.
Yeah, it's instant power, and like you said, as you go up, you don't lose the power. It keeps going. Now, what we do see, we run a time trial on the road course in the Ultimate Streetcar Series, and what we'll see with the Teslas is they're good for like a track like Road America that's 4 miles, 1 to 2 laps, and after that, they're going to start slowing down just because you're driving them so aggressively at such a high rate of speed. They can't keep up with it. But in our series, all the cars are required to run 200 treadwear street tires anyway. So all the fast guys in our series are only going to go 1 or 2 laps because their tires are going to go way down after that. So
right.
It doesn't impact the Teslas too much. They've got to be a little more cautious in how they charge their batteries in between rounds, and make sure that they have a charging station nearby, because they won't make it through the day if they don't put in some charge at lunchtime. But they've done remarkably well. We used to have a EV specific class in our series, and they more than held their own with all the internal combustion engines. So we got rid of that class, and they just run usually in the GTS class now that we have, because they're over 3,200 pounds.
Now, does Optima sell their own charger that is specific to their batteries?
We have 2 chargers. One's a digital 400 and the other's a digital 1200. The 400 charges at a maximum rate of 4 amps, and the 1200 charges at a maximum rate of 12 amps. They'll charge any lead acid battery. It could be a flooded battery or an AGM battery. They're not designed to charge lithium batteries, but in a drag racing application, I would recommend the digital 1200 because it charges at a higher rate, especially if you're charging in between rounds. You want more current going into the battery. And the 400 is more suited for long-term charging and maintenance while the vehicle might sit in storage, or if you're not in a hurry to get your battery recharged.
All right,
actually-
I gotta ask this question just for the humor factor of it. I'm handicapped and I have one of those little buzz arounds. You guys
Sure.
have one that can hot rod that thing for me?
Is it lead acid?
Yeah, it's 12 volt. I want to say it was 22 amps, but I could be wrong on the amperage.
No, you can use, if it's a 12-volt battery, you can use our chargers on those for sure.
Pete,
I have your 1200 charger.
Oh, do you?
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's effortless to use. It's got what would look like a speedometer or a tachometer telling you what percentage of charge you have in the battery. It's effortless. It's durable. I'm a big fan of it. I love that charger.
They did a really nice job with the design of them, the functionality. It's one-touch functionality, and even more than that, if you just connect it to the battery and walk away, eventually it'll turn on by itself as long as it's plugged in, and it'll go into an analysis mode, and then it may go into a charge mode or a maintenance mode, but fully automatic. And one of the nice things about it is it'll recover batteries that have been discharged down to 1.25 volts, which is actually more of a problem than people realize. When lockdown happened and we had the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, we were always trying to build as many batteries as we could, but we knew the demand would spike. We didn't know how long it would spike, but our worst week in the year following lockdown was better than our best week the year prior to it, because demand skyrocketed. Nobody was going everywhere. Everybody's cars were sitting in their garages, and all these new vehicles have, OnStar and GPS this and satellite that, integrated car alarm, all the seat memory and radio memory, just eat batteries alive. And so instead of charging their batteries, folks just called up AAA or went to the auto parts store and bought another battery. So the demand has skyrocketed since folks started working from home and driving their cars a lot less, because the vehicles are still using a tremendous amount of electricity, even if they're not running. I use my 94 GMC 1-ton truck as an example. That's got a 454, and I can start that truck every day with a 35-pound red top. But if you go out and you buy a new GMC truck, it's going to have 2 batteries in it, and they're probably going to be about 60 pounds a piece. And it's not because they need that much more cranking amps to start that engine. It's because of the electrical demand. And the auto manufacturers are doing their best to make sure that they can get their vehicles to perform and function, and no parts need to be replaced until the manufacturer's warranty is up. So the answer is just, a bigger hammer. And then in this case, it's a physically heavier, larger battery that has more reserve capacity. And like I mentioned with Perkins law, you won't discharge it as deeply because it's bigger, and then you'll get more cycles out of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
what's in the pipeline for the future for Optima batteries?
I get asked that question a lot, and I'm the guy that has the keys to all the social media. So Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. And so the short answer is they don't tell me any of that stuff until they want the whole world to know, because I won't keep my mouth shut. So I know they're working on different things. The H6 and H7 were our 2 most recent new sizes. And that addresses a lot of late model GM cars and trucks, and a lot of Chrysler and Ram trucks. We have direct fitment for those vehicles now, where we never did before. And I apologize to all the Mustang guys. We haven't had a direct fit replacement for the Mustang since the Fox body came out. And I don't know if that'll change anytime soon. And we hear from motorcycle owners and power sports vehicle owners that would like those batteries, and we don't have those either. And I don't know if we ever will, but we've got a Prius battery. and
Wow.
there was a good business case for that, because a lot of them are in California. And it's an easy battery to make because we already make a Group 51 for the Honda. It's the same size. You just have to change the pencil posts for the Prius. So we offer a Prius battery, and every EV on the road today right now still uses a lead acid battery. All the Teslas still have lead acid batteries for now. So we can make a business case for shipping a bunch of Prius batteries out to California.
Good stuff.
Very cool. Maybe that's what you need to do to me, Pete, is take away the keys to Facebook.
That might help.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, Jim, I do appreciate your time. Like I said, I apologize that we had to kind of delay you a little bit, but I think it definitely was a learning experience, not only for Pete to take back to his classroom, but our listeners and our viewers as well.
Yeah, and again, I just emphasize, keep your battery fully charged, folks. Even if it's not an Optima, your battery should measure at least 12.6 volts. And I can almost guarantee you, if you go out in your garage and you measure voltage of your vehicle right now, if you haven't been driving it much lately, it's probably in a partially discharged state, and you'd be doing your battery a great favor and improving the performance and extending the lifespan if you just keep it on charger and charge it once a month.
You'd be very surprised how many people don't know that if you took a voltmeter and you put it on your battery and it read 12.1, 12.2, that it really needs to be charged. And people think that because it's a 12-volt battery, hey, I've got 12 volts, we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people don't know that.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth.
The rule of thumb for those listening, battery has 6 cells in it. Each cell is 2.1 volts. So a fully charged battery adds up to 12.6. And you could give or take a volt here and there, but if you start reading 12.2, 12.3, get the charger out.
Anytime any lead acid battery is discharged below 12.4 volts, sulfation starts forming in the plates, and that diminishes capacity and lifespan. So yeah, when you get down to 12.1, 12.2, it's time to put it on a charger.
Yep, no doubt. Very cool. Well, Jim, thank you very much for your time. I always love learning something. I'm sure the people listening in feel the same way. And we appreciate you taking the time to give us a little education.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be on and happy to come back anytime.
Good stuff.
Right. Thank you very much, Jim.
All right, take care.
All right, have a great evening.
You too.
Very cool.
So
I definitely
I see you with a goofy look on your face, which probably means someone commented something. So let's hear it.
Will Masiello from who has the dragster,
Yep.
Will.
Yep.
Do the Chargers have wheels for racers that forget to disconnect them and drag them up into the lanes? Like Jim was still, as he caught the end of that, he was laughing.
No, we don't do that. We found it cheaper to just put really long cords on them.
Well, you know what I'll do now that I got my buzz around? I'll follow you. Put it on the floorboard of my buzz around, and I'll follow you around the pits. How's
there
that
you go, with a really long extension cord.
Oh, God. Well, that was cool. I learned something. That was awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So 2 other things that I would like to touch on. The first thing being that we're very, very happy that no one got hurt in this incident. But you know their names, Chris. Feel free to spit them out.
Are we talking about the trailer?
Correct.
2 seconds, just to I opened like 17 different windows here. Please bear with me.
I know it's the Dusen trailer, right?
Yeah, Dusen LLC. They were on their way back from New Media yesterday evening. We had a line of really gnarly, nasty thunderstorms roll through this area. That's about an hour south of me, roughly. They were driving through Peterborough, New Hampshire, and then they heard and felt the truck and the trailer shake.
Right.
And I believe it was Allie said to her dad, did we hit something? And then next thing you know, trailer's on fire. They did get the truck unhooked, so there's some saving grace there. But they did lose the trailer, their dragster, and whatever else was inside the
I
trailer.
saw the pictures of that today, and my God.
Yeah, it
There's-
was
there's
not
lot
a
left,
pretty
that's for
scene.
Sure.
Yeah. But like I said, they were coming home from the media. Actually, they were 8 miles from their house when whatever happened.
Yep.
And of course, what's the first thing we think of, especially when we were having them on to talk about that?
Yeah, because everyone's been on, so well, I shouldn't say everyone, but there's been so many reports of trailer fires because of batteries.
Yep.
That without reading the post and just flipping through pictures and seeing a trailer burnt down, the first thing you think is battery fire. And it turned out to be a lightning strike, which is kind of mind-boggling when you think about
Which,
how many times you've ever driven during a thunder and lightning storm, and like, I don't know if it's ever entered your mind, but it's never entered mine. That's pretty crazy.
well, like his daughter made a valid point. Aluminum,
Yeah,
or
right.
actually, here, let me buzz through this real quick. We have been driving through scattered thunderstorms for a few hours. Pulled up to a red light in Peterborough, New Hampshire. We heard a boom, followed by a lurch in the truck and the trailer, and a huge lightning flash came across the sky. Dad and I looked at each other. Did somebody hit the trailer? And I think it was just lightning, and then surrounding cars started beeping, and then they saw the flames. They have no idea what caused it, probably never will. Her dad checked the load about 2 hours prior to this. Pretty,
I'll tell you one thing that does surprise me a little bit is with a lightning strike that does that much devastation. I'm really surprised that it didn't take out the electronics in the truck.
right. Good point.
I'm a
Yeah.
little surprised at that, but
Yep.
regardless, luckily it didn't, because if it did, they probably wouldn't have been able to disconnect and get it away. So, fortunately for them, it didn't, and they were able to at least salvage that. And obviously, the most important thing is that they didn't get hurt. It's, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
I mean, you probably heard the same thing growing up that I did. There's lightning storm and you're scared, go sit in the car. Because
Right.
the car's grounded to,
Right.
is grounded to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Maybe, again, like she even said, probably will never know exactly what happened. Maybe, possibly, the tires
Yeah.
saved the truck from getting short circuited.
Right. Could you imagine being in a vehicle behind that trailer and seeing that? Oh my God.
Yeah, if it truly did get hit by a lightning bolt, I mean, I've been close to some, and just the sound alone will scare the ever living
Right.
what out of you.
Yep.
But I can't imagine seeing something, probably altogether 50, 60 feet long and get smacked by a bolt of lightning,
Right.
however many thousands of volts. Like to say, it's not the volts, it's the amps.
It's the amps that'll get you. That's right. That's right.
But they got the truck unhooked. The fire department put the fire out. Unfortunately, said they did lose their fifth wheel trailer, their race car, and whatever else was in the trailer.
Yeah.
But most important thing is life at that point.
Right.
Yeah, so kind of digressing just a tiny bit. We've got a little bit more to go on here, but it was a crappy weekend, pretty much altogether.
Division One took a pretty big beating this weekend, that's for sure.
I have people asking me questions. I'm not a good multitasker. All right, next one is, unfortunately, this has been a battle that has been going on for some time now. I don't remember exactly when John Bartolomeo was diagnosed with cancer.
It's always been Johnny D for me because
Yeah, Johnny, we'll go with Johnny D. That works. Unfortunately, the racing universe here in the Northeast and in general lost him on Sunday. So another hit. You know, as I believe it was his daughter wrote, he just wanted to make drag racing better, safer. He loved the sport and the people in it. Well, most of the people. He
Yeah.
was all in. Racer, writer, researcher, innovator, and a friend to all that would accept his friendship. Apparently, the Lord needed Johnny D's help, and as he chose to take him last evening, please keep their family in your thoughts.
well, I could tell you that if his goal was to make drag racing better, I don't think there's anyone that'll argue with the fact that he did. I've read several of his posts. I've read a lot of his posts. I've read several of his blogs, and there's just no question. He definitely made drag racing better. And the drag racing community is going to feel a hit with him not being around.
I want to back up just a tiny little bit. Rob Keister posted, unfortunately, you also have race fuel in the trailer, and the current from the strike possibly could have ignited the fuel. Obviously, like he said, seen a battery ignite a fuel fire in a garage. There's 1,012 different things.
Well, the other factor to throw in there is, yes, you do have fuel vapors in there, but it was probably also 450 degrees in there too. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, it was one of the hottest weekends. I mean, this was like early August, end of July weekend. This weekend, it was freaking hot. It was really hot. So you take the heat, the gas fumes, like Rob said. It's pretty much, you don't like to think of it that way, but it's a rolling explosion going down the road waiting to happen. And that lightning could have just been the straw that broke the camel's back.
I mean, like Jared Artist posted, the heat was horrible because he was at Cecil. The highest track temp he recorded was 134 degrees.
You imagine what that's like sitting inside a car with a fire suit? Oh my God. I bet you it's 150 degrees in the car.
I am good with that. So a hit to drag racing in general, unfortunately, was the loss of Dave McClellan this weekend as well.
Yep.
Him, Steve Evans back in the Diamond P days, baby.
Yeah.
Made NHRA great. They really did. It was an entirely different universe. In the 80s and early 90s with those guys. And I had the privilege, an honest to God privilege, of being able to interview Dave on the old show 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And,
very cool.
The guy still had those pipes, man. He still had that voice that you heard on Diamond P every Sunday. And it was an awesome interview. And I'm glad I got to, speak with some of the real heroes of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, you take these things a little for granted, but unfortunately, when something like this happens, it makes you realize that you talk to a pretty special person. And actually, I mean, even with Johnny D, I've only talked to him, 2 or 3 times at the track, and it was usually because I was with someone else that knew him or whatever. But you're around people that have an excessive amount of knowledge about the sport that you love, and it's like automatic gravity, right? It just, when someone knows more than you do about something that you're really interested in, it's like you're all ears. And that's what Dave McClellan and Johnny D and people like that. I mean, that's who you want to hang out with and have a beer with,
Yep.
Someone that you can learn from.
One of the hot rod reunions, one of the very few hot rod reunions they had at New England Dragway, I was walking around and over where the by the tower where they have that stand where they have the cookouts and stuff.
Right.
I was walking through there and I happened to look to my left and I see this guy sitting in a chair, just kind of looking around, checking stuff out. And I stopped and I said, what are the chances that's who I think it is? And I looked again, I looked once more. I'll be damned, it was Tom McEwen.
Pretty cool.
Went over, I got to talk to him for a couple minutes, took a picture with him, handed him my card and said, I'd really like to interview you. Took about a month or so and got to, again, another guy. You know, what's the first thing you think of when you think of McEwen? You know, the battle with him and the snake
Sure.
back in the day.
Yep.
You know, real true legacy, 30 or so years long.
Right.
And you got to spend half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was, talking with him. And that was really cool.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Awesome. Good
Yep.
stuff.
So
I am going to nominate a decision. Seeing as how we don't have any racing next weekend, and this weekend was kind of a tribute to a lot of loss that we've had. I'm going to say we just, tip our hats to the people who we lost and call it a week.
and next Monday is obviously Memorial Day as well. I was planning on not working on Monday, so to speak. Yeah, it's been a shitty week.
Yeah, it has.
Weekend.
There's really no other way to put it.
No, unfortunately, for those that have sensitive ears, I do apologize.
Of course, Freddie Perkins said way worse than that. Don't sweat it.
Good point.
And me.
And you, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, let's hit the results and then we're gonna wrap this baby up and call it a
Okay.
night. So you have you have everything. Let me just get them from the message I sent you because I didn't print them out because I was working on other stuff. All right. Top alcohol dragster. Again, from Cecil County, Maryland, the NHRA Division I Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series in action this past weekend. Your winner was Karen Stalva. Your runner-up, Jackie Frick. Karen, number one qualifier. Karen, low ET, top speed for Jackie Frick. Top alcohol funny car, the track that's right down the street from their house. DJ Cox was your winner. Dan Pomponio was your runner-up. Excuse me. Number one qualifier, DJ Cox. Low ET, DJ Cox. Top speed, tell me if you've heard this one before. DJ Cox. Comp Eliminator making a return after I think he said it was 7 years. And he dipped into the sixes in this dragster. Steve Zupka was your winner. And we obviously have to talk very quickly about the runner-up.
Yes, that was actually, I didn't know because I haven't been to a race yet. I had no idea how he was feeling or what was going on with him. I mean, I know the reports were good, that he was doing good, but man, when I looked at those results and I saw his name as the runner-up, it sure did. That was like the small bright spot of this whole disastrous weekend.
Yeah, that was Frankie gets the star of the weekend.
Yep.
So making his triumphant
overshadow Steve's win, but man, it sure is nice to see Frank back in the car.
Yeah, huge shout out to multi-time division national champion, multi-time round winner, multi-time race winner, and just all around really cool guy.
Right.
Of course, Frank Aragona was the runner-up. So just like Pete said, it was just really awesome to cruise through those and go, wait, what did I just see? And go back to Comp Eliminator and go, hey, he's back.
Yeah. Yep.
So
good stuff.
Super Stock, your winner, in the 65 Mustang stick shift car, Bobby Fazio. Runner-up, Herbie Null. Number one qualifier, Herbie Null. Stock eliminator, Matt Lisa over Billy Pyers. Number one qualifier, Ryan Herensky. All right, Pete, your turn.
All right, Super Comp from Cecil County. Kent Hanley defeats Mike Rabalado. Patrick Myers qualified number one. Super Gas, Rick Homan, hopefully I pronounced that correct, defeat Michael Handrus.
Yep.
TC Smith was the number one qualifier. Super Street, I'm sure this is going to be a shock because he never wins anything. Keith Mayers defeats Michael Fidel, and Shannon Fordyce qualified number one.
Cool.
What
It's
happened?
it's too bad Biondo has the Terminator name because that would really fit
I know.
for Keith.
I know. He is
Where the
no
hell's
joke.
Taylor, if you're listening, that should have been you.
Yeah. But now you had to go ahead and start a family.
Yeah. That's all right. Wait till your sister gets comfortable in that seat. All right. Top sportsman. I don't know if you saw any of the round action, the final action from Cecil Pete.
No.
No. All right. So our buddy Brian Connery in probably the most beautiful 63 Corvette that you will ever see with that gorgeous paint job. Beat Fast Freddie Perkins, our buddy Freddie.
Ready?
Unfortunately, Freddie had a really big nitrous explosion on the starting line, and Brian took the win. So luckily the 57 it's damaged, but it's repairable. So I showed my picture of the son that Freddie's girlfriend, the picture to my son that Freddie's girlfriend sent me. His first words out of his mouth were, "Is the car hurt?" I'm like, it's fixable. Okay, good.
Good.
He loves that car. Number one qualifier and top sportsman was Jeff Brooks. Junior dragster, 13 to 18. You're a champion. Tell me if you know this name. Paul Stalba. Runner-up, Madison Schonberger. Number one qualifier, Charlie Biltersdorf. Juniors, 10 to 12. Again, tell me if you've heard this last name.
Yeah.
Champion, Emily Stalba. And runner-up, Christopher Orsini. Number one qualifier, Landon Kennedy. Now, that was Christy Pascal's daughter in that picture. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, I have to say, that is, if you haven't seen this picture, all right, we have it. I posted it on our Facebook page of Christy Pascal's daughter, Alayla. It is the cutest picture you will ever see.
Did you see the video?
No, I didn't see the video. I just saw the picture of
So there's a video that goes along with that. So Diane was taking pictures of her in the winner's circle. Okay. So the junior dragster is parked this way, and they've got only her in the front holding the trophy. Okay.
Oh, wow.
The rest of the family is behind like the cage back wheel. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, she usually doesn't do that. She usually puts everyone together, right? But she's facing forward, and it's almost like Diane's on an angle and she's like got the family in the background and she's getting everything. And then she goes, "Okay, Connie, come here," and turns her just a little bit more. And she pretends she's taking, well, she was taking pictures. And her two brothers walk up behind her with a cooler of water and dumps it on her head.
Oh, really?
And
that is awesome.
that picture of her going like this, that was right when she got it dumped on her. It was fantastic. It was great to see.
Oh, I missed one. My bad. Top dragster, Joe DePasquale over Scott Lucan. Scott Lucan, also your number one qualifier. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, is your results from Cecil County, Maryland.
County.
We do have a winner of the guess the number of entries contest. I do the best I can with the numbers. I have to usually end up going off the sheets. But if anybody would like to help, that's at an event. If you've got the time, I've got the ability to say thank you for helping me. Our winner for Cecil County is actually from Cecil County, James Kane. He won the custom T-shirt from Mama T's, T-shirt, the hat from Jegs, and whatever else we happen to find in the bottom of the RNN prize box.
Very nice.
Coming up this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, is going to be Maple Grove, so we have another contest going. Let's beat the number of guesses. We had 98 guesses for Cecil County. I want to beat that.
100. We got to get 100.
This game started out as a joke originally between me, Pete, and Scotty Wheels.
Yep.
And it just kind of went and took on a life of its own. And it's actually a whole lot of fun. And that is what it's all about, is having fun doing this.
Right. So listen, here's what I'm going to suggest with this deal. Okay. If someone has a better way, Rob Keister, of of coming up with the number,
I didn't do it.
Rob Keister, please let us know, because unfortunately, our contact with Division 1 doesn't always have the time to come through with the info that we're looking for. So when that happens, we're stuck with looking at qualifying sheets and counting and adding up every single participant. All right. We got to come up with a winner by the Monday after that event. So it's either someone from the inside reaches out to us and gives us a number, or we sit there with no shoes and socks on, and we start counting entries until we come up with the number. So again, if anyone has a better, more efficient, more knowledgeable way, please feel free, Rob Keister, to get us those results. That'd be awesome. If not, then we're stuck doing it the way we're doing it. So, again, just trying to have some fun, put some T-shirts on some people for playing, and here we are.
All right. With all that being said, Will Monroe's having surgery on his hands tomorrow. Please keep him in your thoughts. I will post updates as soon as I possibly can throughout the day or in the evening whenever his mom posts them. There is a GoFundMe for Will Monroe. The link is on our Facebook page. Fast Freddie Perkins is going to have a collection bucket at his trailer this weekend at Maple Grove. It's going to be right under a custom-made banner that basically says, "Put your money here." Fill the bucket. Fill it up.
Amen. The dues and
I
crew.
personally have never met Will Monroe, but he is a local guy to me. I've seen him obviously at the racetracks,
Yep.
but he's got a long ways to go to recover. But
Yeah.
he's a young kid. He's got a lot of fight in him. And even his mom said he was a pain in the ass when he was a baby.
Yeah, that was a great post to read.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, they TSR put up a post today, basically just saying, for the people that don't know, there was an accident, and they're devoting a lot of time and energy to, recovery and all that stuff. So be patient with any orders or reaching out to them. They're doing the best we can. So just try and be respectful as far as that stuff goes. Dues and crew. Glad you guys made it out okay. And we hope that you could get everything back together and get rebuilt and get back to the track. And, rest in peace to Johnny D and Dave McClellan.
Yeah, so that pretty much is that. This coming weekend at Maple Grove, go up to every one of the safety safari guys, shake their hand, his or her hand.
Yep.
if you have an issue, don't be an ass and go yelling and screaming at somebody that works there.
Right.
You use this instead of this. And we've actually heard a lot about people coming up and flipping out on track employees and the division employees, and it's not cool, especially in in light of everything that's gone down over the past few days. Use your head instead of your mouth.
It's real easy to criticize when you don't need them. Right. And then as soon as you need them, they're there. And the good thing about first responders are they never have the attitude of, Pete Sankey just went off the end of the track, but he said something crappy to me last year, so I think we'll take our sweet time getting there. That's not them. That's not how they're made. They will run to your rescue no matter what. And
through the third level of hell to get you out of it.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know this for sure because I'm not there, but I guarantee you one of the reasons why Will is in the shape he's in and he's able to recover is because of their actions. So hats off to them.
Yeah, Flick said, when you get to Maple Grove, go up and shake a hand of every one of the division employees that you're able to see that day. And just tell them thank you. And you appreciate everything they do. So I know some of the Monroe family did tune in. They actually commented. So Monroe family, we are thinking of you. We'll do everything we can to get the news out about Will and you.
Yep. Any fundraisers or anything that you guys will have planned in the future, please let us know. We will post them on our page. And as a family, whatever we can do to help, we're here.
Yeah. Obviously, Pete's a racer in Division One. I live in Division One. Yeah, I'm not a competitor, but it's still Division One is my home division. I consider it my home division. And whatever little piece of something we can do, I can do to help. I'm more than willing to do that. So with that being said, Monroe family, have a great evening. Best of luck tomorrow with the hand surgeries. And we're out of here.
That's it. Have a good Memorial Day, everybody.
All right. Catch y'all later.
Take care.
See ya.